I told you that I earned over $20,000 more last year without getting any certifications, without learning to code, and without adding more hours to my day, would you believe me? Because I did. And it didn't come from hard skills. It came from mastering what most people call soft skills. But in the remote world, they're actually a power skills. They're the reason I kept getting raises, 40%, 50%, even 60% in under a year, just from changing how I communicate, how I take ownership, and how I manage myself in a remote team. And in fact, research shows that remote workers are often less likely to be promoted than office peers. In one study, remote roles almost had a 31% lower promotion rate, and that's a real gap. And learning those soft skills actually helped me to bridge it. So today, I'm breaking down the 5 soft skills that completely changed my income as a remote worker. And you learn how you can use them to earn your next $20,000 in a year. The first soft skills I actually want to talk about when you're working remotely is proactive, asynchronous communication. And I'm not quite sure if I'm saying this right because there's a lot of vowels here and there, but this first one completely changed how people saw me at work. When I first started as the YouTube project manager, communication was a chaos. It was here and there and basically everywhere. Everyone was in a different time zones, tasks overlapped, and sometimes it felt like we were playing broken telephone within Slack. And then I started experimenting with proactive asynchronous communication. Basically, what it means is that communicating before people actually need you to. Every end of day, I send very short messages that include 3 things: updates I completed, the next steps I plan for tomorrow, and any challenges I saw coming today and perhaps in the future. I didn't actually sit and idle around waiting for my CEO to ask, hey, what's the status or what's the update? I actually follow up with him. I give him regular updates with clarity, solutions, and suggestions. And that one simple habit actually builds trust over time and faster than anything else. Suddenly, I wasn't just another project manager. I was the person keeping the company on track. So you see how proactive asynchronous communication actually lined up. You keep on giving and actually you learn trust over time little by little. Every 6 months, my salary increased by 40% to even 60%. And it's not because I worked harder than anybody else. It's because I made communication easier for everyone else. And get this, in one study published in the Journal of Medical Internet Research, async communication cut task time nearly by 60%. And that's mind-blowing. So, if you're a remote worker, your silence is invisible. Clarity creates visibility, and visibility gets rewarded. Now, the second soft skills actually changed my career, and it was radical personal ownership. And this is the stuff that I really am eager to share with you. When I first joined the team, I didn't have any background in YouTube management. I mean, who else has a background in YouTube if they go to university or even college? I see none. My degree was in business management and not media. So, as you expected, there were a tons of mistakes. And I'm actually meaning a lot of them. But here's what I actually learned. Instead of saying, I wasn't trained for this, or that's not my fault, I started saying, here's what went wrong, and here's how I'm fixing it. Every time I made a mistake, I wrote a short reflection, how I did it, what went wrong, and how the next person could actually avoid it. That single habit actually turned my errors into leadership moments because I wasn't just apologizing, I was actually improving the system. And then my manager started to notice. I went from the so-called new guy to the one trusted to actually train new hires or new interns and review their workflows. Because let me tell you this, I didn't treat mistakes as a failure. I treated them as a feedback. And this soft skill is actually made in another studies. A 2022 Frontiers of Psychology found that self-regulation and accountability are 2 of the strongest predictors of success in remote work. When people show initiative instead of just waiting for instructions, they're perceived as more reliable and promotable. So here's a controversial statement I'm going to make. If you want to grow fast, fail fast, and learn from your mistakes, and don't hide from them. Write them down, learn from them, and share to your seniors, your peers, how you'll actually prevent them next time. And that's what ownership looks like. and ownership always pays. And the third on the list is what I've started to actually notice as I further climb my remote career experience. And it's called strategic digital presence. I didn't actually realize it was valuable until later. And you might start to wonder what actually is a strategic digital presence. When you work remotely, your online presence is your reputation. Nobody actually sees your office. They see what we call your digital footprint. For me, it started when I launched this YouTube channel. At first, I was just sharing what I learned as a YouTube project manager, writing scripts, managing YouTube hosts, handling feedback. But over time, that channel became part of my professional identity. It showed potential employers and clients that I wasn't just doing my work, I was actually documenting the whole process. And the funny thing is, they actually told me to write an SOP on all my workflows so that I can actually share this knowledge to all the other project managers out there. That visibility opened doors that I didn't even knew ever existed. And over time, other recruiters started reaching out. Collaborations actually came in, and my credibility actually increased from what was once a YouTube project manager to a YouTube strategist. Not because I said I was good, but because I actually showed it. And the funny thing is, there's actually data behind this. A survey I found shows that 73% of recruiters check social profiles before contacting a candidate, and those who actively post or share work-related insights are seen as thought leaders, which often leads to unsolicited offers or promotions. So whatever your field is, share to the world what it is you're learning. You can post a weekly insight on LinkedIn, share your workflow, or explain a lessons you actually learned. Because when people can see your value, opportunity starts finding you. And the fourth one is what I feel a lot of people doesn't have these days, and it's called empathetic collaboration. And yes, let's talk about empathy. I feel that a lot of people don't have empathy in today's world, and it's because of this singular soft skills that people are lacking. I'm starting to actually see make or break an entire team. And I really hate to say this, but in remote work, especially in startups, you often find yourself working with people younger than you. And that's not a surprise, as we see lots of innovations made by Gen Zs and AI popping here and there. It's not surprising that a lot of the older people are now what we call in the same experience bracket, although they have a lot of experience in the higher positions, but that's in the past. And let me tell you a story that actually happened to me. I was 29 years old, having experience in an e-commerce company and manufacturing company, and then I landed a remote job as a YouTube project manager with a CEO that was 5 years younger than me. Anyways, at first, I struggled with that dynamic. They'd sometimes be so straightforward, be blunt, or very impatient. And I take it personally because I was not raised in that working culture. You could say this was my first remote job experience and I wasn't a culture fit to them. But I realized they weren't actually being rude, they were actually learning too. So instead of matching frustrations with frustrations, I lean into empathetic collaboration. When new interns join, I'd actually give them a call, a 15-minute talk to walk them through to the things that I actually messed up with. I'd share how I failed early on, what I learned, and how they could avoid the same mistakes. And what I noticed was powerful. People actually started respecting me more. Our team worked better, and projects ran smoother. And a lot of people think that empathy makes you feel weak, and you're just trying to be a nice person. But this empathy, it makes you effective. And I'm not saying this out of the blue. I've actually done my research, and research backed this up by a 2023 study in Frontiers in Psychology found that empathetic communication directly improved team cohesion and trust in virtual teams. So if you want to stand out, don't just be good at your job, because there's a lot of million people doing the same thing and they're good at their jobs. But I want you to be the person who makes everyone better at theirs. And moving on to the last one, and maybe this is the hardest, which is self-management and boundaries. Remote work sounds great on paper. You can work from anywhere and set your own hours. But here's what nobody tells you. The line between working and living disappears fast. When I first started, I worked all the time, checking Slack at midnight, replying during dinner, until one day I realized I wasn't actually living. And here's what I did. I built a structure. Since I'm actually a morning person, I started blocking out deep work hour session in the morning, muting notification after 6 to 7 p.m. and treating my calendar like a boundary, not like a suggestion. And here's the funny part, my performance actually went up. I got more work done in less time. I felt more focused and finally had time for my side project like this channel, which became its own income streams. So if you want to earn more remotely, I highly recommend you to manage your energy and not just your time. Because nobody wanna promote someone who actually keeps on burning out. You might feel like, I deserve this position, but hey, in their eyes, you look tired, really, really tired. And that is all from what I have to talk about the 5 soft skills that actually got me more than $20,000 in a year, without switching companies or job hopping here and there or adding more work hours. So let's recap. The first one is proactive communication, where clarity builds trust. The second one is radical ownership, where you can turn your mistakes to become your greatest asset. And the third one is digital presence, because visibility is what will give you more opportunity down the line. The fourth one is empathetic collaboration, where empathy builds influence. And last but not the least is self-management, where setting boundaries actually protect your growth. They might sound simple as I'm talking it right now, but they're not quite easy. And it takes time for you to actually start learning this so that it becomes part of your muscle memory. And most people in today's era always pursue what we call hard skills, although that is important, but they ignore what we call the soft skills. And this is very crucial. And these soft skills can actually become your competitive advantage. And now before you go, I actually like to hear from you in the comments below. What's been the biggest challenge within your remote career? It may be communication, burned out, or you may even feel invisible. Drop it in the comments. I read them all and I'll actually reply to them all. And who knows, I might actually make a video about it. So that is it from me. And if you guys like this video where I share my 5 soft skills within the remote work, give a like, get that notifications up, and also subscribe into my channel because I'll be making more content like this in the future. And if you guys are curious to see what I do when I'm burned out working remotely, check out this video right over here. It will teach you the steps on how you can actually handle stress and manage your emotion. And that's all for me. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.
No.